Hello again, friends. Welcome back to The Mouse Says The Butler Didn't Do It. Mystery series written by myself, Nico Scher, under my pen name of Cheryl Ann Butler. When last we met, there was a situation where there had been a fire at the Ennepe home and the auto bar, and what they had discovered was that it was arson. Silver and his son Izzy had explained about the battle that had ensued as Izzy went to rescue Christina Calhoun Sanjay's cat, Ratchet. In this story, we begin again with the follow-up of chapter 98, after we found out the damage that was done to Reed Carlson and to Reggie Callier. You may be visited by several cats today, as there are milling around in the fact that Normal is here along with Boggle. And we will go from there. Hopefully we will not have any audio glitches, as with every one of our cats, this is Normal, their tails seem to have a mind of their own. So, welcome to the podcast. I hope you enjoy. Chapter 98. In the living room, they got everyone settled and explained what they had found in the paperwork that Storm had opened from them finding it in the storage areas in Vineland, New Jersey. Ethel had held out the paper she'd read when she told Jim to call Silver. The two parcels of land on either side of the Crystal Heart Lodge in B&B that you two have been trying to find out who owns them. The ones that once belonged to Poppy's side of the family and were connected to the back area here. And that's because you wanted to buy them to incorporate it into the land of the B&B and its holdings. She held out the paper. What about them? Chris took the paperwork. Those are the deeds and the tax records to them. The two properties she owned and left to Ghram. The one with the Dodson's house behind here, and the old tea house room building and its land. Taxes are paid on the land and the buildings until Storm turns 18, and the taxes for these properties aren't due for another 12 years. You two own the land, and Ghram owns these properties. She turned to Storm. Sweetie, open that last envelope. Hold it, Mom. The property next door, the Pittier house. It will be in Ruby and the girls' hands tomorrow. Ghram explained what he and the O'Shaughnessy's had done to the wide-eyed look on Jim's face. Jim didn't say anything except for 3 words as he raised both hands in a sigh of surrender. We, Rich, Dakota, and I, know nothing. That's the official record. We had drugs turned over to us, and what we found in the men's room was also turned in. That's it. Good. Very good. Well played, son. They deserve this, Ethel agreed. And I don't want to know how much. Just that it's enough to do the repairs of that beautiful old home and for them to own it outright. She looked at her sons. Jim looked at Ghram. More than enough, Mom. And all 7 of the girls can be put through any college or university or med school they want, he smiled. Excellent. Now, Storm, open the second bubble envelope. please." The teen did. "What is this, and why do I have a compass and an elevation chart and a weird map?" Ghram looked over. "Dad, do you remember when we would go on the map quest where we had to locate the flags, the stamp our books that we found them?" "Yes, Rannella set those up, but wait a moment. Rannella did those flag games in the land adjacent to the B&B. Those properties are of the land Silver and I now control. They stopped when you were around..." "Shit. Ghram, you were around 11. Ghram looked at him. "I don't really want to discuss George." "Yeah, shit happened during those games. He looked at Tootie. "That's how I think my daughter came about. The map is one of those, and it looks like Rannella's got a treasure hunt set up for us of some type. Something's buried, and that key on the table is to open it." Storm started to crumple the envelope. Feeling something still residing inside, he opened it and looked in. "Dad, there's some type of tape in here or something." He ripped the small bubble mailer open the rest of the way to stare at the thing. "What the heck is it?" "It's a micro-cassette tape," Jim answered. "Do they still make them?" Ghram asked. "I don't know. The question is, what's on it and how do we find out?" Chris looked at it. "But here's something I just thought of. Storm's birth certificate, along with Tootie's and RCC's. They were changed before Rannella filed for divorce, and it states Calhoun on them. Tootie, do you have a copy of Buddy's?" "Yes, at my home in Bristol, but I don't know if it's right. It's like mine and RCC's has with the Smith-Jones on it. And there were issues when I tried to get it. Something isn't right about it. It's not certified with the official gold stamp. It's a copy of some type. They told me his file was sealed because of a failed adoption." "That's of interest. Why would that be sealed if the birth mother retained custody? Rannella, knew somehow that Ghram was their father. My question is, what else did she find out that she kept to herself and took to her grave?" "Probably my youngest son, Buddy, who I know what I want to change his name to when we get legal custody. Dad, Mom, how about Nicholas Charles Calhoun?" Nick and Nora Charles were Nana Pagin's favorite mystery characters. She adored William Pound and Myrna Loy. "And Nick Charles was Greek," Destiny smiled. "Tootie, he'd still be Buddy. We wouldn't change that. He'd adore a name change. She called him Randall. He hates that name. Could maybe we adopt a dog for him and name it Astor?" She smiled. That brought chuckles. "You mean Asta, not Astor." Rain corrected. "We'll talk to..." Ghram corrected. "We'll talk to Rain. He's got a mutt that was dumped at the clinic. He thinks it's a Schnauzer miniature, and it's female, like Asta was in the books." Chris smiled. Jim leaned back in the kitchen chair he'd brought in. "Interesting thoughts, Dad. If I take that tape and have it analyzed by the state lab, they'll be able to find out what's on it. I'll call Dakota." Silver shook his head. "I want it, 'cause he's probably just got to bed. He was at the fire." "Baby, you'd better not." Beth Anna looked at him. "It's 5 a.m. He'll kill you, best friend and lead detective and assistant police chief or not." Call Richie instead. Rattle his cage and crickets." Just then, Jim's phone rang. He looked at it. "It's Stevie. Hold on. Hello?" He put her on speaker. Just lit out of here. He knows where Tammy and the kids have been staying. It's the Americana Motel off of US 1 in Bensalem. The one with the old cottages that are attached to the rundown trailer park. Jess is saying he's got a feeling that she was in that SUV tonight. I'll call Bensalem and make sure he's got an escort." He ended the call. The next call was to the Bensalem police. After he made the call, he looked at the family. Jess swears Tammy was in the back of that SUV. If she was, then who the hell was watching the kids? Or were they left to fend for themselves? He took off to try to get them. He dialed Richie to inform him about the night's event and had made several more phone calls. Chapter 99. Friday morning of November 24th, Gram's house was full to bursting. He drank his coffee leaning against the fridge, while Chris flipped pancakes, sautéed vegetables, made omelets, and fried bacon and sausage. All this while Tootie prepared plates. Juices were poured and cereal bowls filled. They explained things to Buddy. His sole response was, "I know. I was told by her that I wasn't wanted by any of you. I didn't believe her, though, because of the way Tootie talked about you when she went to school and the way Dad Iceberg always said if he could figure a way to smuggle me and RCC to you, all he'd do was have us disappear. He told me about the summer parties, the fishing you all did, the hay wagon rides, and the Halloween parties and Thanksgiving, which was incredible yesterday." Ethel put her arms around him. "You ain't seen nothing yet, kiddo. Hate to admit it, but that one was kind of half-assed. I've never had one so good as that. He told us about Christmas and the Jewish holidays and Kwanzaa that you all celebrate, and that some of the weird stuff I do, well, it's kind of like the stuff you see in Harry Potter. That we three come from some wonderful witches. But Phyllis said if I did any of that stuff in her house, she'd put me in a place called Byberry State Hospital." Chris lost it at that point and had to head outside for 15 minutes with Silver to help to cool him down. The 10-year-old now sat with the biggest stack of pancakes he'd ever seen before him. RCC ate Belgian waffles with fresh fruit and homemade whipped cream. It was a dish she'd never tasted before. "Bitch," Chris growled under his breath as he glanced at his grandson and flipped another pancake. "Dad, we'll teach them and it will be okay. This kitchen hasn't been this active since Mom and you moved into the B&B. Dad, are you okay?" "True. We'll have to fill your pantry and the fridge after this drain on things." "Dad, that's okay. I usually just grab a cup of coffee and head to the Crystal Heart Lodge Inn for breakfast. The chef there is incredible," Ghram smiled. "Thank you, Squirt." "Yes, I know you do, but you now have Storm, RCC, and Nikki, and your future bride to think about. And what if your daughter drops in for an evening visit with her dad, mom, and siblings?" Chris leaned into Ghram as Tootie smiled and took a plate to set down for Flea. "Talk to her. Something's up. She's been too quiet all this morning, and I don't know. It's bringing back memories of you when shit was happening and you were trying to get through it on your own. Don't let her go through that like you did." "I picked up on it too, Dad. After breakfast, we're going to talk. But you're right. I'm going to need groceries. They're growing teens. Nicky needs all the proper nutrition he can get. Tootie is expecting, and Destiny may be eating for two soon as well. How soon? Chris leaned back to look at him. She threw her birth control pills away 7 weeks ago. Chris stared into his green eyes. You two been getting busy? Ghram shook his head and grinned. Only you, Dad. Only you would want to know if your adult queer son can get it up to please his bi lady and probably offer advice, which I would gladly take you up on. Until last month, I've been providing protection, but a couple of times in the last few weeks, well, we wanted to make sure the stuff was out of her system because if not, it can harm the baby. Good call. You're both thinking of the baby's safety. Proud of you, son. And may you both be blessed and have children that are easy on your hearts, like the four you already have. Ghram smiled and bit his lower lip. Unlike me, huh, Dad? Chris straightened to look down at his son. You have reasons for the shit you were doing. If we knew, number one, any one of us in Mandula would have taken his ass out. They never would have found the body. Some of the channels in the Delaware are pretty damn deep. And then again, there was always the Journey Pine Barrens, or each of us still had military connections. Dad Alexei and Grandpap Quinn were talking spooks here, and every one of us lions are just a bit crazy when it comes to our Mandula family, and we would have gotten you the counseling you needed long before. Dad, it's okay. You know, I'm at the Worship Center's hall every Tuesday night for AA and NA meetings, and Uncle John and me do the work on Wednesday morning, and it's my time with Perry from 10 to 11. I have my scheduled appointment via internet with the Pennies. I've been with him as my counselor since you set it up with him to see me in the hospital the second time. He's great. Admit something, though. Why does it piss you off when I refer to myself as the only hell Mom ever raised? Chris plated the last of the food to pass to Tootie, who set it on the table. Daddy, you couldn't have been near as bad as Reed and Philly. They both got their rears kicked out, and still, her voice dropped to a mumble. They continued to hang together, even after all the trouble they caused. They deserve each other. She shuddered and put her hands over her face and fled the kitchen, running for the stairs. Nicky looked over his shoulder. Daddy? Dad will handle it. Chris put his hand on the child's back of his head. You two eat. You're all safe here, and we love yous and want yous here, like Storm. He smiled and pushed up his glasses and went back to his breakfast. Thank you, Grampy. RCC licked her lip where her whipped cream was at the corner. I'm on it, Dad. Destiny, I need you. He set down his coffee mug to leave the kitchen. What's going on? His fiancée met him in the living room. I don't know. It's Tootie. I referred to myself as the only hell Mom ever raised, and she said I couldn't be nearly as bad as Reed and Philly, then ran for the steps. There's something that's going on, and I don't like it. Ghram took the steps 2 at a time with her behind him. He turned the corner baluster to take the second set of steps to the 3rd floor and met Tootie at the door of the attic room as she had grabbed her pocketbook and her jacket and was heading out. Whoa! My daughter is not bolting out of here without talking to Mom and me. What's happened? What's going on? What the hell did those two do to my daughter? Oh, Daddy! She shook her head. Ghram looked at Destiny. Tootie tried to push past him. Ghram blocked her by wrapping her in his arms. "Hold tight. I'm here," he stated. Chapter 100. Tootie dropped her head. "I don't want to hurt anyone because of them anymore." She couldn't control her emotions, nor could she slow her body's movements. Her ADHD had kicked in, and she was out of control with it. Ghram slowly rocked her in his arms. Destiny reached out to take her hand, then pulled both of them into her own. Ghram blew out a breath. "Let's go and sit in your room, and the three of us will discuss what's happened. Because something has. I know it in my heart. Will you talk to us, please? And you can rock as we talk. I think that will help you. Believe me, it helps with the ADD and the ADHD. I know. I've got it myself." He kissed her forehead. Tootie nodded and turned for the room as he slowly released her from his arms. Destiny took her purse and set it on the dresser as Ghram helped her out of her jacket and laid it over the chair. "Where would you feel comfortable to sit?" "On the bed, I guess. I can sit there and I can rock." "Okay." She turned and sat on the mattress and folded her legs under her to pick up a pillow and hold it to her chest as she started to keep herself in a slow movement of back and forth. "Can Mom and I sit in the chair and one of us on the bed with you?" Tootie nodded. "I'll take the chair. I think you need your dad next to you." Destiny took the wing chair. Ghram eased himself onto the bed as the frame creaked. "Think we need to take care of this bed situation. I think you might need a new one." Take a deep breath, slow in through your nose and hold it, then let it out through your mouth. Do that a few times and then let your thoughts start to align and put them in the order you need to. Then you start to let them flow. Mom and I are here. You are within this family of Calhoun that is surrounded by the safety on the family of Mandula. Iceberg held you within that, and if we or he ever knew you were mine, he would have placed you, RCC, and Nikki with Grandpa and Grandma, with me being too young to care for you. But you would have been part of my world and those, and we will help wherever you need us. You are loved, and I know there's been shit you've had to go through by yourself, and I have not been here for you, Storm, RCC, or Nick, ever. That's going to stop right here and now. I'm here, and so is Mom. Take it slow and do the breathing. It will help. 5 minutes passed when she turned to look at him. "Daddy, Philly would leave me with Kathy and Chicky before Chicky was arrested and charged with accessory to murder. Then Phyllis went out and went to a convention or on a date or on her vacation. We never went along with her. She did that stuff on her own. This was after she told everyone she got her GED, and then she supposedly started college. Only, there's one thing I don't get." "What is it that you're thinking about? What's going on?" Ghram asked. "She never graduated from college. I don't ever remember her going to high school, as I would have been 4 or 5 when she should have graduated. I don't ever remember her leaving the apartment we had when I was little." She plucked at the pillow. "She doesn't have a degree from a university or college that is local or in one of the close states or any type of community college. She took an online course to get some type of degree. Tootie rocked as she held the pillow close to her chest. Online degree? Like an outreach program for an affiliated school? Destiny asked as she looked at Ghram. Temple has one of them. So does Princeton. She said she took classes online, Mom, at this school that was based out of Yardley. I don't know if it's even real, but she did things behind Iceberg's back. She dealt drugs for Reed, and when she got that degree, she bought the place just north of Newark and moved us there. The papers I found on the property, they're not in her name. She swears Twinkle co-signed for the mortgage, but I know damn right well Auntie Twinkle would never do that. And when I checked with her, she states she never signed anything for Phyllis. And you know she was Daddy Iceberg's bookkeeper and accountant. She doesn't trust her, and now that house is going into foreclosure because she did something really weird with whatever payment she was making. Okay, so she's losing the house. Destiny looked at Ghram. She's always been a con artist. We'll need to have that looked into, Ghram nodded. At this time is when, well, I don't know. And she stopped communicating with Iceberg altogether because of a big fight she and Auntie Twinkle had over me, RCC, and Nick. She didn't ever want us. I was her mistake. She called me an accident and stated all I was a tax credit to her. But if she played her cards right, she could get money for him. For who? Nicky? Ghram took her hand. Yeah, maybe even more if she could do it again. I think she was going to try to get pregnant again using what was stored at Johns Hopkins. But then they died like 5 months after Nicky was born. She still was talking about getting pregnant again on Thanksgiving when Storm called her. And I think she is. Is she pregnant now? Destiny asked. Maybe. She was in the bathroom with an EPT when the call came in. I don't know the results. But when she would leave me with them all those years ago, the three of them all played with Reed. She looked out the window. Sometimes they'd all be in bed together, and that usually took place when Storm was in the system for something Kathy did, or he would have been too young to remember. Sweetie, did she ever leave RCC and Nick with them? Destiny asked. Yes, and I don't like the sense I picked up on with that. But Nicky won't talk about it, and RCC can't seem to identify things with it. She gets very upset when asked, like there's a block or something in her memory. Sweetie, believe me, your younger brother Storm remembers. He remembers it all. He has a background with all of this shit as well. He's going to talk to my counselor, who is named Perry Penny. It will help. Go on, hon. We're here. We're listening. She reached for a box of tissues to blow her nose and crumpled it to toss it in the wastebasket. 2 points, as Daddy Iceberg would say. She nodded, then smiled as she took a breath and looked at him. You take after your dad for being a basketball player, Destiny smiled. Thank you, Daddy and Mama, for letting me talk. The things that happened to me started when I was about 7. RCC was 4. Phyllis wanted to get back with her family. She was about 22 and was going to wave her degree under their nose. She figured that would show them. What actually went down, though, was they were like, good for you, now give us the kids. That's where it started the huge argument between her and Auntie Twinkle, I think, because I told Auntie what was happening, and I'm pretty sure she went to Daddy Ice. Anyway, she would take us over to Buffy and Luell's home in Yardley Gardens Estates, where she dumped us for the summer so she could do whatever she wanted to do. She would leave you there, you three there, for Ghram glanced at the door. You're thinking you ought to get your dad and Mom in on this. Destiny drew his attention to her. I am. Tootie took another tissue to blow her nose. Luell would have his friends over. They included the Carlson men, Reed and George. George's father, Carl, sometimes if he was in town from upstate somewhere. Did they ever touch you? Ghram asked as he stared out the window. Multiple times, and when I told Buffy, she called me a liar. That's when I remember telling Mama, Daddy Ice's mother, and she had it looked into with Daddy Ice paying a visit to the dock at a restaurant, doing one of his conventions with the chief of staff present. Oh, shit. Ghram turned back to her. That would have been the explosion about 7 years ago. Ghram nodded. The family were part of an ensuing investigation and several reports of pedophilia being in the area, and it was turned over to the state. It involved him being questioned and the arrest of a Pennsylvania state trooper, Brian Horton, with one of the kids, Pandora Frankens, giving a statement. Ghram, you're right on that. Destiny looked at him. That would have been Pandora, right? The man nodded. Tootie sniffled. Yeah, but after that, we were no longer left with the men. I was confined to a bedroom when they were there and locked in by Buffy. Then Billy started to leave me with Kathy and Chicky because Luell was complaining of me being there and taking up space, as well as RCC and Nikki. Reed waited until I was about 11, the year after Nick was born, and in foster care at the time with RCC. I would be at one of the apartments and he would turn up. He'd tell them simply to get lost. Ghram blew out a breath. I think I know where this is going, sweetheart. Tootie, did he? I had my first period when he decided I was ready. I was 12. Did this ever stop? Destiny took her hand. Not until I ran away at age 16 and went to Iceberg. That's when I took RCC and Nick. He was able to tell me something, but he won't talk about any of it. Daddy Ice got us into school, and I got a part-time job, and he got us a small efficiency apartment and helped me, along with the help of Auntie Twink and the other aunties. RCC was in special care where she was learning and growing wonderfully. Nick would come out of school and Auntie Twink would pick him up with her youngest two. They'd stay with them, and Ursula would watch them until I got home. That's when I decided I wanted to go into the agricultural engineering, because Daddy Ice and I would spend time at the Philadelphia Botanical Gardens at the different homes that were part of it. And he'd take me to the lawn and garden show every year at the Civic Center. That was our time together, our special time. He spent time with RCC and Nick, too. He made time for us. He'd take him to ball games, baseball, football, and they'd shoot basketball in the backyard. RCC would read her favorite storybooks to him, and he would sit there and point out the words and try to say them. You know, Daddy Ice never really got a chance to learn how to read. Ghram smiled. He loved to hear us kids read to him, even me with my stutter. He's very well missed. He's always going to be in our hearts, sweetheart. She smiled. We'd have weekend passes, and Daddy Ice, he'd make reservations for a 2-bedroom suite at one of the fancy hotels down there. We'd have room service for breakfast and go to the show. Lunch was at a street vendor's. Philly cheesesteaks, wit and pro. He'd order for us. I'd get onion rings, and he'd get cheese fries, and we'd share the sides. A traditional street cart Philly lunch, Ghram chuckled. Sounds like Uncle Iceberg. Then we'd sit on the curb with our lunches and our Frank's orange soda. That night, Auntie Twink would join us for dinner with RCC, Nick, and her kids at a nice restaurant, and they'd talk business while I looked at the flowers and plant brochures. We'd do that Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We would finish our day by going to see Old Christ Church and then go home. If we were lucky, Grandma Ethel's dad, Grandpa William, I know where you're at, sweetheart. Yeah, he'd be doing his Ben Franklin on one of the tours, and we'd do that with him. If he had to deal with Reed or her, Daddy Ice, well, we were sent to the store, or he'd make sure that meeting took place when we were at school. It wasn't until I was in high school when I was introduced to Thurston W. through Buffy and Lowell, to which Buffy insisted I start to date him. Then, as I started Penn State, that's when she wanted to have me back in her life, and Phyllis, for some reason, agreed to it. Did Thurston W. and you ever, before September, with what happened, or after? Tootie shook her head. No, Daddy, never. Ghram looked at Destiny. Daddy, I thought my father was someone she met and made a mistake with. I was never told who, when, where, what happened, or how I was conceived. Neither of them would have wanted you to know that, sweetheart, especially if they were going to pull a money game. Ghram blew out a breath. Tootie wiped a tear. Chapter 101. Tootie rose from the bed to walk over to the window to look out at the tiny birdhouses that were in the trees, placed in several branches, were on poles below her and in the tree that sat out there. They're beautiful birds, aren't they, Daddy? Yes, and we have all kinds up here, not just the pigeons you have in Philly neighborhoods, but you sometimes can find them in different parks up here. Tootie turned back with the tears streaming down her cheeks. All Philly ever said was I was her worst mistake ever. She should have aborted me. Then there were times when I wondered if we were Reeds by the way she acted, and she would say all kinds of stuff about hurting you. He even, well, one time when I was 14, I found a notebook. Her eyes drifted to the window once more. She lowered her head to run her hand under her nose. I'm snotty. Ew. He pulled several tissues from the box to hand to her. You're a little old for me to do this, but he held the tissue to her nose. Better late than never to become a daddy. Blow out, don't snort in. She took his hand in hers and tried to blow as she busted out laughing. Oh, I'm so glad you're my daddy, and RCC's and Nikki's and Storm. And we now have a fantastic mom. Thank you both. She blew her nose the second time. Ew, green slime, Ghram teased as he tossed the tissue. Are you always this goofy? He hasn't changed since high school, sweetheart. Destiny stood and sat on the other side of her. Tootie took a deep breath. What about this book, sweetie? Ghram asked. Reed had this regular 5-subject notebook. He had all these things in it about drug concoctions and herbs, and your name was written throughout the book. I now wished I could give it to Uncle Jim, but when I stole it, I burned it in the grill on the Memorial Day weekend of that year. I should have kept it, but when he couldn't find it, he lost it, and all hell broke loose. She sniffled again. I've seen his apeshit reactions. Ghram took her hand. It's scarier than hell. I have several scars from that shit with him. Yeah, it is, she nodded. He started accusing Philly and raging that she sold him out, and he started beating her. To appease him, she left him head me for the summer. I ran away in August, and the cops returned me to her, and it continued for the next few years, until I got my car and split for good with RCC and Nick in my arms. She dropped her head. I left everything behind. We just got in my car with my wallet and the clothes on our backs and split. Destiny put her arms around her and looked over her head to Ghram. Sweetheart, this is not your fault. I want us to make arrangements for you to start with a counselor. And Nick as well. Perry has a really nice lady that is a special needs counselor named Jenny. She would be great for RCC. The one I see, Perry, his wife Jody, works with a situation like this. She is very sweet, and their daughter-in-law is an attorney for the center that works in this field. Her name is Caroline. I just want to forget about it, and like Storm, Nick has buried it so deep I can't see him speaking about what he went through to anyone. RCC, this is the first time I've ever heard her call anyone hers, except maybe you and Grandpa. I don't want anything to happen to her. I just found out that the wonderful guy I always wished was part of my family because of the way Stevie always said you were easy to talk to and were always there and cared about every one of them, that he's our real daddy through no fault of his own. Dad, I'm afraid of losing you because he'll do something like he did to Iceberg and my aunties. She set aside the pillow and threw herself into his lap and just fell apart as he held her while Destiny rubbed her back. Ghram started to rock with her in his arms. He began to hum, then to sing a Rascal Flatts song by the title of I'm Moving On, as he left her dissolve in the pain and anguish she was dealing with. Several minutes passed as he himself did the deep breathing he just taught her to keep himself calm. And there you have a visual of Chuck, who just popped up. Although inside he was dying from what they'd, like Storm, had been through, and he was desperately trying to hold his temper and wanted to have a one-on-one confrontation with Reed Harlow Carlson and rip the bastard to shreds and sink his body straight to hell, not for himself, but for those of his children. She sat up to wipe the tears away from her eyes and sniffled. That song means a lot to me. How did you know? It resonates with me, too, as well, and with Storm. The difference in that song and us, and in my girl here, is we found our home is right here where we all belong, with our destiny and our family of Mandula. He kissed her forehead. You're not going anywhere, right? 'Cause Mom and I talked about a few things. I know you're going to Penn State. You have a dorm room there, and you said about selling your house in the historical section in Bristol. I received an offer on the house this morning. It's more than I expected, so I'm taking it. But yes, I have a dorm room. She sniffled and inhaled. When you're not at the university, we like you to live here with us. This would be your room. Also, there's something we need you to know. I know you and Mom are practicing witches, Daddy. I know about Grandmom and the coven because Stevie and I talk. Even when I was at my apartment and Daddy Iceberg registered me up here in school because I didn't want her or him tracking me. And with Nick and RCC down there, they couldn't figure out where the three of us were. He thought it would be safer if I was at least close to Mandula up here, and he paid for my fuel and insurance to drive up and back and to go to work each day. He was always a very smart man. Ghram nodded. Yes, he was. They all were there for us, and they really meant a lot. They took care of us, and she swallowed hard. Stevie is my mentor when it comes to study about weird things that I can do and feelings I get. I'm learning from her. Annie has offered to assist with my lessons as well, and they both said they would work with RCC and Nick when they're ready. She's the best, and I think Annie is really sweet and cool. Phyllis, Kathy, and Chicky all bitched about it. Daddy, Mom, I have a question, 'cause Stevie thinks it's so. So does Anastasia. And they said it does happen. She said Mickey gets her stuff from Jess, but he's like a terrier and doesn't think he can do things. Anastasia said she, Ivina, and Dennis get their gifts from their late mother and grandmother on her side. Can you inherit something like that? 'Cause Phyllis, there were times when she feared feelings you and the kids get and the things you three can all do, right? Yes, Mom. And when I couldn't explain how I would know things, she'd lose it, and she picked up the pillow from the floor where it had fallen and clutched it like a shield to ward off a blow. And what? Ghram brushed away her tears with his thumbs. She locked me in my bedroom and wouldn't give me food or water. I now have to watch what I do because I'll forget to eat for days on end, and, well, it's not good. You lose too much weight. She created an eating disorder on you. Have you seen someone about it? Ghram asked her. Yes, Daddy, I've been diagnosed with isolational anorexia nervosa. It's listed as a form of child abuse. But you know what? Stevie was right. You do make people feel better because you understand and can listen. We need to be careful with that. Ghram nodded. He gave her a quirky smile. With what? Stevie will find a way to charge me for her advertising for me. He chuckled. Oh, Daddy. She scrubbed her nose and giggled. Let's go get some breakfast. They stood. So, will you accept this as your room away from university? Yep, But, Mom, she turned to Destiny and gave her a hug. Don't you think it needs a little work? Maybe a cauldron and a wand with a broom in the corner, or maybe I can get a plant, a devil snare by the window. Oh, I got to get me a pet rat or an owl to deliver my letters to you and Daddy and Storm and Nikki. RCC would love that. Errol is her favorite owl in all the books. She bit her lip and sniffled. Destiny chuckled. Can you handle a couple of macaws and 2 terrified of man kittens? I would love to. Does this mean you want to learn about witchcraft? I guess you could say I want to follow in my daddy's and mama's ways. Yes, she stood to hug him and tossed the pillow onto the bed as he did the same, then put her arms around her new mom and leaned into her to whisper something. Destiny nodded. I will. Thank you both. As they left the room, she ran back to fix the pillow on the bed. They walked down the stairs for Chris to set a platter in front of Tootie and one for Destiny. They took their seats. Chris looked at his son. Well? Chapter 102. Ghram poured himself some coffee to warm the cup he'd left behind. Dad, Ghram cocked his head to the side. Chris bobbed his head. We need to talk, father to son, and it ain't about the birds and the bees. Well, kinda not. But we can get into that too. Meet us in the den. Silver, time to have that discussion we should have had years ago. Ghram gave a nod, then headed for the door. When he entered, he took a seat on the sofa. Moments later, his dad and Silver walked in to close the door behind them. Dad, Uncle Silver. Philly was involved with Reed for years. Lowell Berkshire is friends with Old Man Carlson, and when Philly would bring my daughters to them, there was molestation going on. Tootie was raped by Reed over 2 summers in periodic times when she was 14 until she took off at 16 with the kids. But he took her the first time at age 12, and shit continued from there. Wait a minute. She went to school with Stevie and with Albania. She graduated of NHSHS. How? Silver set his mug down to lean forward. Uncle Silver, Iceberg registered her up here, and she drove each day from Philadelphia because he felt she'd be safer here. So that's what the phone call was about. The address of one of the cottages. Chris sipped his coffee. More than likely, then Philly and Buffy wanted her back in their world before she graduated. She didn't tell us how they'd gotten her to come back, but I bet it had something to involve pressure being put on her over RCC and Buddy. Probably threats involving the kids. Non-stop pressure. They set up the dates and relationships with Thurston W. Chris was quiet for a moment. Politics. If she married him, it makes Thurston W. look legit, not a bastard child. And she's the granddaughter of a well-off plastic surgeon and the daughter of a shrink. Well, from what Tootie said, the shrink degree is off a website. Yeah, it's possible Philly took courses online, but that would take several years. Tootie said she got it in a few months and doesn't remember her going to high school when she was a child. She's going to be talking to Perry and Jody Penny. Also, when she's home from Penn State, she's moving upstairs into the attic room. She's going to fix it up like it's out of Hogwarts or something. As long as it's not the cupboard under the stairs, you'll be okay. Silver shook his head. She showed signs like you did. Fuck, Ghram. Like what they did to you. That's incest. Nick is showing signs as well as what you did. I know, Dad. We'll handle this. Good. Now to answer your question from an hour ago. When you say, Chris began as he took a seat, that you're the only hell your mama ever raised. I think about my Ethel, and you're right. Mom was the good girl of the Lionesses. I found out she was a virgin on her wedding night. She, like Emmy, saved themselves for us. A gift beyond anything she could give to me. She conceived Jim that night. Through all the teasing, the waiting on me to stop playing the fucking field. And believe me, I was far from my virginity. Your mom was a saint and got her chops busted over it in high school and the first 6 months of college until the night we married. He stood to start to pace. Dad, Chris held up one finger. Give Dad a minute. Silver crossed his arms and squinted. He put the broken glasses away and now wore an old set of contacts. Rannella, Chris shook his head. There's no easy way to say this without bursting your bubble of her memory just a little. As we got older, married, and had children, she was incredible with everyone and everything that she did. If any of us needed something, she was there, especially as a child caregiver. When one of our ladies went into labor, the call would go out, we'd get told, hospital, always St. Mary's. She'd be there somehow. She must have flew in that Delta 88 of hers. Before we get there, she'd be waiting. She'd be at the emergency parking lot, park our car, and take our kids home, and stay until our lady and the baby were home. And then she'd spent several weeks making sure we were content. She did the housework, laundry, shopping. She made meals, so us guys could go to work and bring home a paycheck and serve our country. That bastard, Silver growled. George hated every time she did this. He accused her numerous times in public, where none of us could go after his ass, of cheating with one of us. You need to remember, we knew George in high school, and he was never a true lion. He was on the fringes. He never played any sports. He didn't attend language clubs, no debate team, science, chess groups, or history clubs. No ROTC, not even the book clubs, nothing like that. Never at a school play or attended any event whatsoever. Homecoming, haunted house, fall bonfire, or the hay rides, the Christmas parties, or the spring fling. He was never around during the summer. He didn't graduate. He quit midway through his junior year and hung out in Mexico or somewhere down in South America. Basically, he flunked out. Complete failure academically. And he wouldn't accept a tutor. No, he wouldn't. Mom offered, and that's when he pulled the shit of putting the moves on her. He actually pinned her in the back area of the school's library. Chris looked to Silver, who nodded. She kneed him in the groin and slammed an Encyclopedia Britannica of the mammals of the world on his head when he dropped to his knees and laid him out cold. They had to call an ambulance. She then came flying to me in the parking lot where I was waiting to take her to work at the inn. Chris blew out a breath. Gabe stopped him from going after George. The librarian caught most of what happened and called for an ambulance, and the principal pulled his school records. Silver explained. The principal, well, he saw his failing grades and expelled him. Silver shook his head. He should have been charged with attempted sexual assault, is what should have happened. But then again, we had Noel Franks in his first year as chief of police. Go figure. Chris took in a breath. Rannella, the queen, our queen. She did everything. She had dates galore, always with one of us when one of our girls was tied up or had to work, and she was smart. Straight A's like all of our ladies. They took the time to get us through a lot of tough courses, but she also earned a reputation solely amongst us. This is where I don't want to hurt you or your memories of her. Rannella was no angel. She was hell on wheels. She was our queen, the queen, and she knew it. And we all loved her for herself and the fact that she brought all of us together and created Mandula. We all did love her so very much. We were the select few that knew what she was. It wasn't just us guys. Our ladies had no problem with it. She never wanted any of us to put a ring on her finger or a bun in her oven. Not until you. You know about this shit. Your father, the quarterback, made her a woman, and she made me a man in my 64.5 Mustang's back seat at the Roosevelt Drive-In. All so I would be able to please your mother. He looked at Silver. November 16th, 1976. The movie was Stephen King's Carrie. Chris chuckled. She had a thing for a young John Travolta and William Katz. He's still fucking Vinnie Barbarino to me, and Katz did a TV series, The Great American Hero. It was a comedy. It only lasted 2, maybe 3 seasons, if that. Silver leaned forward. I still think they all did. That longish black hair and those blue eyes of Vinnie, and Katz had the blonde curls and the blue eyes. What the fuck's with blue eyes anyway? You should know there, playbook man. Emily still drags me to every one of Travolta's frickin' films. Anyway, she taught me how to love and please your Aunt Emily. Rannella taught each of us, and we all kept our mouths shut. It was a pleasure to be able to love our ladies properly, and when we presented our ring to Our Lady, she stopped it then and there without an argument from us, and we agreed. She was happy for us and extremely happy for her girlfriends, her sisters in the convent, and her family. Eventually, we were all spoken for. Chris took a deep breath, including Uncle Jackson and Auntie Liliana and Uncle Gabe and Aunt Lottie. By this time, Aunt Colette was finding shit out about Grantley, and Rannella had hired Caleb and Tony to look into things for Colette because something wasn't right there. She called a meeting one day. She had met someone. At the meeting, she told us she was marrying George Carlson. We all knew damn right well who the bastard was. Silver growled. Emily asked her why, and told her, he's not good enough to lick the dirt off your shoes when you step in dog shit. Chris shook his head as if still in disbelief. Her answer was, why not? Then she broke down and cried. He was to be her first one-night stand. She couldn't use the pill because of the genes she carried and the female history in her family on both sides of aggressive breast cancer, and she was allergic to latex on top of things. So we all, including our ladies, made sure she had lambskin condoms. Chris continued after a few moments and thought. She was too embarrassed to buy them. George was supposed to have provided. Silver put his hand on Chris's shoulder as he clenched his fist. Let me say something from experience. Those fucking things bust. Latex, lambskin, extra thick with ribs, or whatever the hell you use. But not that easily. He had to have done something to it. When you're in the throes of, well, they can and will bust, but you gotta really exert shit with them to do that. It isn't common, and when they did, it only happened once with me. We made sure he was safe. We ended it right then and there. No finishing, and we cuddled. None of us gave a shit if we were left with blue balls. She was to be protected. It didn't matter with us whatsoever. She was kept safe. Georgie Porgy, that fucker, did it. Oh, fuck me. Dad, Uncle Silver, is that how Ghram looked from one to another? Yes, that's what happened. Dad, he fucking planned it. He had to. Him or his father, Chris answered as he nodded. Jesus Christ. Those bastards. They wanted to pin her into a place she couldn't get out of. I just know it, Dad. Ghram was out of his chair to storm around the den. And there, folks, we will end it. Let's see in our next session if Chris and Silver can actually calm Ghram down enough to handle the situation at hand. Or is Ghram going to lose it enough to try to go after Reed? I hope you enjoyed this section of the story. If you did, please hit like and try to subscribe for our next time together. I wish you all a blessed day. And may you have a wonderful time in the future. So mote it be.